Now we're ready to start part 2 of the Sullivan Realty project. We're going to post to the ledger and create a trial balance. The first thing I recommend you do is print out these 4 journal pages. They contain the transactions that we recorded from the business forms earlier in the quarter. And we're now going to post the debits and credits to this ledger so that we have up-to-date account balances. And then when we're done posting to the ledger, we will take the balance of each account and use those balances to create the trial balance. I highly recommend you review this video, how to post to a 4-column accounting ledger, because that's what this is. This is a 4-column accounting ledger. If I open up this ledger, this is what it looks like. Here we're looking at the cash portion of the ledger. Notice there's 2 columns for the debit and credit, and then there's 2 columns for the balance debit and credit. So that's why they call it the 4-column ledger, because there's 2 columns for the debit and credit, which is the transaction amount, and then you have a debit and credit representing the running balance. And once you print out the journal pages and the ledger, I recommend that you staple the journal pages together, and I recommend you staple the ledger pages for now to keep them together. It will help organize the project so you're not hunting for paper all the time. And if you're trying to find the location of accounts in the ledger, if you open up the posting instructions here and scroll to the very bottom, we see our chart of accounts. So if you're looking for the office supplies account, notice it's the 4th account. It's account number 115. And notice that the accounts go by account number. So if you're looking for account 519, you know that's down here at the bottom of the list. So that would be at the end of your ledger. So the best way to start this is to get your very first journal page. And this is what it looks like. And the first thing we do, of course, is put your name at the top. And then we're going to start with the very first debit, which is cash. Now remember, when you're posting these, you have to go in chronological order. In other words, we're going to do the first transaction, and in the first transaction we do the first debit, and then the second debit, and then the credit, and then we move on to the next one. So in this video demonstration, I'm going to show you how to post the first transaction and then the second transaction, just to get you started, because my accounting lab does not do a good job of replicating this posting process. So we also, since I'm going to be posting from the cash account to the cash account in the ledger, I need to get out the ledger, and we're looking now at the account 111, which is a cash account in the ledger. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the $12,000 debit from the journal, and notice the date. It's 6/2/2014. So over on the ledger, I'm going to put 6/2/2014. Now this explanation column in the ledger is going to be blank in this part of the project. Later on, when we learn about adjusting and closing entries, when we journalize those adjusting and closing entries, we would put adjusting or closing here. But in this part of the project, we've not done adjusting or closing entries. So for now, you're going to leave the explanation column blank. Do not put anything in there. If you do, it'll be marked off. So from the journal, we've got the date in the ledger, 6/2/2014. Now we need to transfer the $12,000 debit to the first debit column, 12,000. And then we need to update our balance. If you look at the prior line in the ledger, there is no balance. So 12,000 is the new balance. So we put 12,000 in the balance column. And now what we need to do is in the post reference column in the ledger, we need to tell everyone who's reading this where this transaction, where this $12,000 debit came from. Well, it came from the journal, so we're going to put J. And what page did it come from? 1. So we're going to put J1. Now we're almost done posting this $12,000 debit. Now we need to go back to the journal and we need to write in the account number that we posted it to. And you find the account number in the ledger, or you can look at your chart of accounts. And notice cash is 111. So I'm going to write 111 in the post reference on the journal. Then we're just going to move down. The next one is office equipment, $3,600 debit. So now I need to find the office equipment account in the ledger. Which is account 121. So office equipment is on page 2 of the ledger. So on the date, on the first row for office equipment, I'm going to write the date from the journal, which was 6/2/2014. Explanation, of course, leave it blank. Don't fill in the post reference yet. And then in the journal, we look and see that there's a $3,600 debit. So we're going to put that $3,600 debit in the first debit column. And that gives us a new balance of $3,600 because there was no previous balance. And then for the post reference, we put J1 because it came from the journal, page 1. And then back in the journal, in the post reference column, we write down the account number of the account we just posted it to, which was 121. Now the reason we put this account 121 in there is to let everyone know that that $3,600 debit has been posted. Now we move on to capital. Capital is a $15,600 credit. So we need to find capital in the ledger, and looking at the chart of accounts might help us find it faster. And looking at my chart of accounts here, I see that the capital account is about halfway through the journal. It's account number 311. So here's account 311. So I'm going to write the date, 6/2/2014. Leave the explanation blank. And from the journal, I'm going to transfer the $15,600 credit to the first credit column, and then the balance, because there's no previous balance, the balance is also $15,600. And then we put in J1 in the post reference because it came from journal page 1. And then we go back to the journal, and on the journal we write in the account number 311. So we're done posting the first transaction. Now we're going to get to we're almost to the point where we get to the part that students make a huge critical error. And you'll see why I am posting the first two transactions with you in this video. So anyway, we're going to go to the second transaction, which was prepaid rent, $3,300. So we need to find prepaid rent. And according to my chart of accounts, prepaid rent is account 114. So I find 114 in the ledger. And then I'm going to transfer the date over, which is also 6/2/2014. And notice in the journal, the debit was $3,300. We had no previous balance in prepaid rent, so the balance is also $3,300. And then post reference in the ledger is going to be J1 for journal page 1. And then we go over to the journal and we write in the account number, which is 114, in the post reference column. Next we have cash with a credit of $3,300. So I'm going to find the general ledger, And now notice I am not going to skip a line. Do not skip a line in the ledger. You only skip a line between transactions in the journal. So in the ledger, I'm not going to skip a line. It's also 622014. And then notice back in the journal that this is a $3,300 credit. So I post that $3,300 credit in the credit column. And then here is where some students make a critical error. They don't update the balance. For some reason, some students don't pay attention, and then they put the $3,300 as the running balance under a credit. Well, think about this. For cash, the debit is a plus. So if you put a balance on the credit side, you're saying they have negative cash. That's not true. So to calculate this balance, we notice that they had a $12,000 balance on the row above. So this credit is lowering cash. So we're going to have to take $12,000 and subtract $3,300. So let's see what that is in my calculator. 12,000, 3,300 minus. So that's a balance, a debit balance of 8,700. So notice that I've put the balance on the larger side, which is the debit side. Remember, all assets should have the balance on the debit side, which is the plus side. So again, we had $12,000. We subtracted $3,300 when we bought this prepaid rent, and now we only have $8,700 of cash. Now we need to go over to the post reference in the general ledger and put J1 again, because it came from journal page 1. And then we go back to the journal, and in the post reference column, we enter account 111. So again, the most critical part about this, the whole reason for posting from the journal to the ledger is so that we have up-to-date balances. So calculating the balance correctly is critical. Make sure you don't have any negative balances. Otherwise, that's a major error. So now I'm going to open up these project instructions, and this is what it looks like. Notice step 3 says your first step is to post all the transactions from the journal to the ledger. So I've done the first 2 transactions with you. Make sure you post the rest of the transactions from journal page 1, and then also post the transactions from journal page 2, 3, and 4. Post all those to the ledger. And in step 3 here of the instructions, I've already explained these steps for you, but you can reread them if you want. The main thing is don't skip lines between the transactions in the ledger. And then notice step 4 says once you have posted all transactions to the ledger, use the ending balances in the ledger. So in other words, the final balance of cash, the final balance of AR, etc., to create a trial balance on the blank trial balance page on Canvas. It says on the trial balance, put the accounts in order of account number, ascending order, which means the lowest to the highest. So looking at the chart of accounts, just put the accounts in the chart of account order. In other words, 111 first, 112 second, 114 third. But now this is critical. Back to the instructions, step 4B. Do not include accounts with 0 balances. Doing so will result in a deduction of points. So remember, the trial balance is a list of all the accounts that have a balance. For example, looking at the chart of accounts, we've never done anything with this account called income summary. We won't do anything to that account until chapter 4. So for now, it will have no balance. So do not include income summary on your trial balance because it has a 0 balance. Again, step 4B, do not include accounts with 0 balances on the trial balance. So when you're done posting the journal to the ledger and then using the ledger balances to create a trial balance, you're going to submit all 4 journal pages. You're going to submit all of your ledger pages, and then you will submit your trial balance to this Dropbox.